Some NFL legends have made their unretirement parties worthwhile, others just shouldn't have come back in the first place.
This got a wow moments ago. Jason Witten's coming out of retirement.
So with that, here are 5 times where an NFL great had success after coming out of retirement, and 5 whose returns were complete failures. Worked? Rob Gronkowski. If there was a golden standard of coming out of retirement in football, Gronk is it. Gronkowski was unquestionably the NFL's best tight end of the 2010s, putting up all-world numbers during his first 6 years at the New England Patriots before injuries unfortunately and rapidly piled up. Gronk appeared to be well past his prime in 2018, catching 47 passes for 682 yards and 3 touchdowns. He did just enough in the postseason to help the Patriots defeat the Los Angeles Rams in Super Bowl 53, winning the 3rd championship ring of his illustrious career. Gronkowski then retired at the age of 29 after the Super Bowl triumph, citing injuries and mental exhaustion. However, when Tom Brady left the Patriots to sign with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2020 free agency, Gronkowski decided to join his old friend. Bill Belichick was more than happy to make the arrangement, sending Gronk to the Bucs for a 4th-round pick. Though he put up just kinda meh numbers in the regular season, Gronkowski saved his best for the postseason and caught 2 touchdowns from Tom Brady in the Bucs' Super Bowl 55 blowout win over the Kansas City Chiefs. He then retired in the 2022 offseason for good and resumed his tenure with Fox Sports. Vintage Gronk returned after coming out of retirement when Tampa needed it most. And that, folks, is how you perform a second act if you're scrapping up your retirement papers. Ended in disaster? Brett Favre, Jets edition. The tiresome Favre retirement trade speculation began after his lousy 2005 season, but the 3-time league MVP decided to return in 2006 and in 2007, and then after not making up his mind forever, 2008 as well. After the 2007 season, Favre announced his retirement from football, but with training camp approaching, Favre decided that, he wanted to keep playing, and pushed for the Green Bay Packers to bring him back. The Packers, however, were really ready to roll with 2005 first-round pick Aaron Rodgers. Favre called out the Packers in media interviews and created an awkward situation that the organization never wanted in the first place. So finally, Green Bay agreed to trade him to the New York Jets in exchange for a conditional 4th-round pick. The Rodgers era was well underway, and time proved that the Packers had made the right call all along. Though the Jets finished a respectable 9-7 and just barely missed the postseason, Favre had very little to do with that. He threw for 3,472 yards, 22 touchdowns, and a league-leading 22 interceptions. Oh yeah, and then there was Favre's alleged involvement in the sexting scandal involving Jets reporter Jen Sturger. Favre was fined $50,000 by the NFL for failing to cooperate with their investigation. The Favre era in New York lasted just 1 season. They found their new quarterback by taking USC product Mark Sanchez with the number 5 pick in the 2009 NFL Draft. Worked? Tom Brady. The GOAT certainly didn't show any signs of slowing down in his age 44 season. 1 year after leading the Bucs to a Super Bowl title, Tommy Terrific threw for a career-high 5,316 yards and 43 touchdowns, both of which led the NFL. But after the Buccaneers fell to the Rams in a thrilling 2021 divisional round affair, Brady announced his retirement from football. Just like that, the greatest career in NFL history was done for. Or so we all thought. 40 days after initially retiring, Brady announced that he was actually going to return for a 23rd NFL season. And with that, the Buccaneers had re-entered Super Bowl contention. Proving that he still had plenty left in the tank, Brady threw for 4,694 yards, 25 touchdowns, and just 9 interceptions. The Bucs finished a lousy 8-9 that year, but it was enough to win the NFC South, thanks to Brady crafting 4 fourth-quarter comeback wins. Tampa Bay fell to the Dallas Cowboys in the wildcard round, and then Brady announced his permanent retirement 2 weeks later. It was a bit of a disappointing season for the Bucs, but hey, we got 1 more year of prime Tom Brady before he called it quits. Ended in disaster? Charles Haley. Long before Tom Brady arrived, the Dallas Cowboys and San Francisco 49ers legend made the 5 Super Bowl rings thing cool. Haley was a cornerstone of the 80s 49ers and 90s Cowboys dynasties. The 5-time Pro Bowl defensive end won his first 2 rings with Joe Montana's 49ers, but his fiery attitude and temper eventually became a bit too much for the coaching staff to handle. After the 1991 season, Haley was traded to the rival Cowboys in a blockbuster trade. He was the final piece that Jimmy Johnson's crew was looking for, helping America's team to 3 Super Bowl championships in the 90s. Haley retired from football after the 1996 season due to various injuries, and to support his young daughter after she was diagnosed with leukemia. After sitting out the 1997 season, Haley decided to come out of retirement and return to the 49ers in 1998. But Haley, who was 34 when he came back to play, was well past his prime at that point. His second go with the 49ers lasted just 2 seasons, and he tallied just 3 sacks over that period before retiring for good in 2000. Worked Eric Weddle. A proud member of the Dream 2007 NFL Draft class, Weddle carved out a Hall of Fame career that was spent primarily with the San Diego Chargers. Weddle spent his first 9 NFL seasons on a talented but incredibly underachieving Chargers squad. The 6-time Pro Bowler only experienced 4 postseason wins altogether on a team featuring the likes of Phillip Rivers, Antonio Gates, and LaDainian Tomlinson, among others. Weddle was then picked up by the Baltimore Ravens in 2016 free agency, where he spent his next 3 years. In a surprise move, they actually released Weddle in 2019 and replaced him with fellow Pro Bowl safety Earl Thomas. Weddle signed with the Los Angeles Rams following his release, but retired after the 2019 season. After 1 full year away from football, however, a desperate Rams team begged Weddle to come back for the postseason. Safeties Tyler Rapp and Jordan Fuller suffered injuries, and the Rams needed help at the positions. So Weddle, who had just turned 37, agreed to join the Rams for their playoff run. Weddle suited up for all 4 of the Rams playoff games and proved to be a valuable piece for Sean McVay's squad. And his unretirement decision actually paid off with the last thing missing in his illustrious career. Ended in disaster, Reggie White. It was a giant blow for the Green Bay Packers when the Minister of Defense announced his retirement after the 1998 season. White, who helped the Packers to 2 NFC Championship banners and a Super Bowl 31 title, posted 16 sacks and 1 Defensive Player of the Year honors in his final season. It was no coincidence that the Packers never returned to the Super Bowl in the Brett Favre era after the Hall of Famer retired. White's retirement lasted just 1 year, however. After sitting out the 1999 season, White decided to play 1 more year for the Carolina Panthers in 2000. Unfortunately, White was a shell of his former self at this point. He posted just 5.5 sacks and 16 combined tackles, both career lows. White was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2006, 2 years after his untimely passing at the age of 43. Worked Brett Favre, Vikings edition. After his aforementioned disastrous 1-year stint with the Jets, Favre announced his retirement for a second time in 2009. Of course, that turned out to be a load of crap. Favre announced his unretirement yet again and signed with the Minnesota Vikings less than a month before the 2009 regular season began. As much as Favre's decision stung the Packers fans, and they let him hear it in his return to Lambeau, the NFL icon actually proved that there was plenty left in that golden arm. Favre returned to his all-world form, completing a career-high 68.4% of pass attempts for 4,202 yards, 33 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions, his lowest mark as a starting QB. Favre led Minnesota to 12 wins and a surprise NFC North Division crown. Unfortunately, the magical year ended in a heartbreaker, with Favre throwing a costly interception in the waning seconds of the NFC title game against the New Orleans Saints. Favre's Vikings were in field goal range and just had to melt the clock to set up a game-winning attempt. Favre's errant throw to Porter was the last postseason pass attempt of his career, as New Orleans went on to win it in overtime en route to a Super Bowl 44 title. Favre's second season with the Vikings wasn't so hot, as injuries caused his consecutive start streak and record to finally end. He retired for good after the 2010 season, but not before one excellent MVP-caliber season in Minnesota. Ended in disaster, Jason Witten. A third-round pick out of Tennessee in 2003, Witten carved out a remarkable career as one of the greatest players in the Dallas Cowboys' storied history. Over his first 15 seasons with the Cowboys, Witten earned a whopping 11 Pro Bowl nods and was named the first-team and second-team All-Pro twice apiece. After a disappointing 2017 season, the Cowboys' all-time leader in receptions and receiving yards decided to retire. Witten entered the Monday Night Football broadcast booth, serving as an analyst beside play-by-play man Joe Tessitore.
San Francisco cannot kick themselves in the foot like that. He pulls another rabbit out of his head.
After just 1 year in the booth, however, Witten came out of retirement and returned to the Cowboys in 2019. Witten caught 63 passes for 529 yards and 4 touchdowns, but his return did very little to spark the Cowboys' offense. They finished a disappointing 8-8 and missed out on the postseason, and Witten was not retained. Not accepting that his best before date expired years ago, Witten decided to play again in 2020, this time for John Gruden's Las Vegas Raiders. Witten just never looked right in the silver and black uniform, catching just 13 passes for 69 yards and 2 touchdowns. Witten finally retired for good after a dismal 1-year stint in Sin City. He was then hired as the new head football coach at Liberty Christian School in Argyle, Texas. Worked Randall Cunningham. Believing that his days as a starter were over, Cunningham retired and sat out the 1996 season. But then Vikings head coach Dennis Green reached out to Cunningham in 1997 and convinced the former star to resume his football career. Cunningham led the Vikings to a wildcard round win over the New York Giants that year, but the magic ran out with the divisional round loss to the 49ers. A year later, however, the best version of Randall Cunningham arrived. Led by the dynamic receiving tandem of Randy Moss and Chris Carter, Cunningham engineered the best season of his entire career in 1998. Those Vikings finished 15-1 and scored 556 points, a single-season record that stood for 9 years before the 07 Patriots broke it. That year, Cunningham threw for 3,704 yards and 34 touchdowns. The dream season ended with a gut-wrenching loss to the Atlanta Falcons in overtime of the NFC Championship game, brought on by Gary Anderson's infamous imperfect miss. Cunningham spent his final 3 seasons as a journeyman backup, but that 98 season lives on in Vikings lore. Not too bad for a 35-year-old who had just come out of retirement a year earlier. Ended in disaster, Deion Sanders. Though Primetime had a solid 2000 campaign in DC, he surprisingly announced his retirement with 6 years left on the deal. Sanders was retired for 3 years before the Baltimore Ravens recruited him to come back in 2004. Returning to football at the age of 37, Sanders was well past his prime, and the Ravens missed the playoffs in each of his 2 seasons there. But hey, which other NFL players succeeded after coming out of retirement, and which ones failed? Let us know in the comment section below. If you liked this video and learned a thing or two, then hey, clicking that like button helps us out a ton, and you know, we really appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, then subscribing is a great idea, because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.